summer of 1997, I gave a presentation in Denver concerning ancient coins and ancient artifacts. And the first part of it was Who Stole the Lamp? And it moved into Pass the Hat. And I assure you, the lamp still burns. Except now, you can buy those lamps by the box. Get a good deal. And the prices are always negotiable and increasing. And through the years, people had asked me, the ones that had seen the Denver presentation before it went up on YouTube just loved it. And it's listed on YouTube as the Dead Sea Scrolls Mystery on the Harry Hubbard channel. That the first part is me and the second part is Paul. But after the video went up online in 2011, I believe it was, several people had asked me if there was anything more to that. And I said, well, it wasn't enough for me to be motivated to do anything. And I had thrown away many of my coin books. What you see here is what I have left. And I must apologize to my viewer in a way, because all you see here is basically what I could not find when I was burning all of my journals and catalogs. That's all you see here is journals and catalogs concerning ancient coins. I was getting several this thick every year, 4 of them a year from 2 different companies, and it was just incredible. And in 2013, I had so many, I had no place to put them. I started burning them. It took me a couple of days to burn them all, because books don't burn very easy in my barrel. Now, these books here are kind of what's left over from the Denver presentation, which I always held on to, and there's some others that are scattered through here that I'm going to be using from the early 1990s. And we're going to move on into the 2000s. And coincidentally, when I was getting all this stuff out, I found my notes that I had put together the night before the Denver presentation. It was all off the cuff. That's how Paul and I were, pretty much off the cuff. But the people's request for me to do things, it wasn't enough for me to do anything. So about, let's see, it was, I think, the last week of January, I was riding in my truck, and I heard over NPR of an ancient coin dealer who was talking about ancient coins. And he said that in his shop, in his coin store, he has all kinds of ancient coins that are just in pristine condition, extra fine, that these are beautiful coins. And what that meant to him was that 2,000 years ago, after that coin was made, somebody carefully took that coin and passed it from generation to generation to generation, and they kept that coin pristine. Well, I've got thousands and thousands of them here that were kept in pristine condition. So he was convinced that this was just absolutely amazing. And I'm not going to show my coin collection, my ancient coin collection, in this presentation, because I've already shown it in 3 other videos. So that's why bother again going through them. And this is the first in the series. This is part 1, and there's going to be a part 2, and these 2 are going to go together. Now, anything I do subsequent to that is just pretty much going to sit on its own. And the Denver presentation, I really didn't have enough time to go into depth and detail concerning my discoveries, or many of my discoveries concerning ancient coins. And those people there had really never thought that they would go to a science congress to learn about history and ancient coins. So I didn't go into a lot of depth, but I am in this presentation. We're going to go very deep. And we're going to begin by discussing the mints and dies. I'm going to be referring to the Society of Ancient Numismatics, this journal here, which I still have a few, but I don't have the whole set like I used to have. Many of them, all my books from my catalogs and journals from the 1980s, I burned them years and years ago. But we're going to begin with mints and dies, and from there I'm going to move into imitations. And after imitations, this part 1 is going to end with evolution of a hat. If you can get through the first part with mints and dies, you'll have a lot of fun with the rest of it. I have to start somewhere, so I have to jump into the mints and dies to give a background and to show you what the journalists say. And the novice, if you've never known anything about ancient coins, I hope you find this entertaining. And after this series, you're going to know a lot about ancient coins. Now, if you are an advanced ancient coin collector or an ancient coin dealer, you may perhaps wish to take some of my challenges and attempt to prove me wrong on some of the issues that I point out. But I want to caution you to be very careful, because that could end up being a very, very long road. So now let's jump into mints and dies. Stay with me. I hope you find this entertaining. This chapter is called Mints and Dies. And we're going to look at all of the information that was available at the time of printing. And anyone can go online now, and there's a few sites that explain how ancient coins were struck and then later cast. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go into struck and cast. We're going to deal entirely with struck ancient coins. And as you see online, anybody can go there, and you see half-naked men striking hot metal in dies, supposedly carved out of bronze and iron. Well, my question would be, how in the world would they carve and smooth it out? There's so many different ideas concerning the logistics of ancient coins, and now you can go online and just see where they had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And at each one of these coin mints, several people worked. They all had major workshops and this and that, and without any regard of how they heated these kilns and where the wood had come from, or how much water the guys had to drink, or if they were still minting coins in the heat of the summer inside these buildings, and just on and on. Some of the most ridiculous things that you'll ever see. I just kind of put this together here. One says that, oh, well, what they did later was they would put these slags of molten steel, which they call flans, and they were all connected by a very thin wire. Absolutely ridiculous. No concept whatsoever of logistics or physics. Because how are you going to heat the slag and the tiny little wire of the same material connect? They were saying, oh, it just fed them like a Gatling gun. Absolutely ridiculous. And when I would take Paul to some of these ancient coin collections, Paul would often quiz some of the dealers and just ask them questions. He'd always ask the wrong question. He would ask the wrong questions. And one of his favorites, mine too, would be Dr. Saslow, because Dr. Saslow always had an answer for everything. And Paul asked him one time about the dies and the mints. And Dr. Saslow would tell, oh, well, every new emperor that came by, they must have just discarded the dies. They just throw them away, or recast them, or remodify them, etc., etc. Oh yeah, they just get rid of them. They just get rid of them. So now we're going to dive deeper into the dies. First chapter here, we're going to start off with Sand Journal. The Sand Journal, Society of Ancient Numismatics. Journal of the Society for Ancient Numismatics, May 1991. This is volume 18, number 2. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, show the editorial. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at this addenda to Vermeule's Catalog of Ancient Coin Dies, Part 3. Now we're going to go deep into the dies, and here's William Malkmus here, who's got the addenda, and Vermeule's and Malkmus are where it pretty much takes a forward leap as concerning the study of ancient coin dies that we're going to be looking at. And here we see barbarous radiates and other imitations of Roman coins. I might touch on that. I'm going to start over here. However, as early as 1901, Ernest Bolin, a scholar interested in ancient numismatics, recognized that it was important to study ancient coin dies in order to understand the minting processes of the past. He also recognized the need to pull together the widespread information which had been recorded about them. This is his book in 1901. Babylon describes some 24 of the then known dies. Now, Cornelius C. Vermeule in 1954 cataloged 60 dies. It's 1954. There's 60 dies. Picking up right here, 35 years since after Vermeule wrote, and during this period of much improved worldwide communication, additional dies have been found, new material written, and old data revised. I'm going to scroll down so you can look at all of it. Continued on page 36. That's where we're going next. I'm going to pick up right here. There is much the finding of an ancient die can tell us that an ancient coin cannot. Coins, when found far from the nation that minted them, can be evidence of a people's commerce and travel, or of another people's war booty, or something completely different than that. I'm going to scroll down here. You can pause that and read it later if you wish. It's all very interesting. Going to be picking up right here. Also, it is the surviving dies and not coins which give evidence of how ancient dies were mounted, and the lower die held stationary via anvil or block when coins were struck. It is also the dies themselves which should provide us with better answers as to how to determine which dies are authentic and which are the work of ancient or more recent forgers. Forgers? Well, how did that come into play there? Continued on page 49. Let's go to page 49. Here we go. Numismatists have long questioned the authenticity of certain dies. If there are determinable differences between the work of the so-called legitimate mint and that of the ancient forger, oh my. We're comparing a legitimate mint to that of the ancient forger. Well, yeah, what we're saying here in this book is they are saying that ancient forgers had their own mints. Had their own mints. Everybody had their own mint. They must have had a bunch of them, right? But let's look at the logistics of a mint for a moment. What does it take to operate a mint, someplace where they're stamping out coins? We got to have a forge, you got to have a furnace, you have to have an endless supply of heat energy, and these guys, they're heating metal. Silver 1700 or so degrees Fahrenheit, and gold is what, 1950 degrees Fahrenheit. And let's not forget that the dies themselves are cast of iron. So they had to cast the iron, and iron, the melting point of iron is like 2800 degrees. And they had to cool all this stuff, and trust me, ladies and gentlemen, hot iron plus water equals rust. So what would they have had to have? They would have had to have an endless supply of wood, people to supply the wood. And they had to have been running these mints 24/7, and these mints, I'm sure, created lots of heat and lots of smoke, and there would be clanging all day and all night. So where are you going to hide a mint? If you're an ancient forger, where are you going to hide your mint? Are you going to hide it in the middle of the desert where you can't get any wood or water there? Your guys are going to be drinking water like crazy because it's so hot, and they're forging. These furnaces these blast furnaces have to have a big supply of air and smoke everywhere. It's going to be burning their eyes. Where are they going to hide it? They're going to hide it in the woods? Well, where would the ancient forger hide his mint where the legitimate mints wouldn't find him? Oh, did they just nonchalantly, oh, well, yeah, he's running a mint over there, but his money's not sanctioned. It's not as good as ours. So where did they hide them in? How did they cool these dyes? You can't just sit there and constantly put hot metal into a dye and bang it, because it's going to heat up. It's going to heat up everything. Your dye is going to fall apart, or whatever you're holding is would eventually just absolutely disintegrate or burn up. So concerning the workers themselves of the legitimate mint or the ancient form, well, they've got to have protective shoes. They're going to have real thick gloves. They got the tongs to hold this molten steel. They're just going to grab it with their fingers and put it on the dye, would they? They're going to have protective clothing. And there's going to have to be a room set aside just for the dye engravers. And as I said before, you're going to have a separate smelt just for the iron, because you're going to have to jump that temperature way up. And in the summer, can you imagine how hot it would be? Now, Paul found a place where there was a supposed ancient Roman mint, where in the summertime it gets over 100 degrees there. Can you imagine how hot it would be in there if it was 100 degrees outside? What are you going to do? How are you going to do that? So we're going to point out some other things concerning ancient dyes after a while. There's going to be more later on this. So we're going to continue right here. The so-called legitimate mint and that of the ancient forger. They may become evident in future studies of the existing dyes. It may well turn out that some crude dyes believed spurious and the coin issues struck from them are authentic. Whoa, that's a powerful sentence there. It's a powerful sentence. That some of the coin, they determined that the dye is fake, but the coins are for real. Well, that's getting a little screwy, isn't it? And right here we say, well, what happened to all these dyes? They were virtually destroyed, as we believe, by the minting authorities. And that is just as Dr. Saslow says, that after they got through with the dyes, boom, they just threw them away. I'm just going to scroll down here, let you read the rest of it if you want to. There's Vermeil and Malkmus, just to let you know that this is for real. Now, this is not a Mad Magazine issue publication concerning ancient coins. This is the real stuff. This is the real stuff. This is top of the line numismatics. Top of the line journal. And this is published in Los Angeles, I believe. Very well written articles. Now we're going to look at page 40. We're going to pick up on page 40, Addenda to Vermeil's Catalog of Ancient Coin Dyes, Part 3. I used to have parts 1 and 2, which showed other dyes, but I don't know what happened to those books. They may still be around here somewhere. Who knows? It's by William Malkmus. Vermeil, Malkmus, these are the granddaddies concerning all we know about ancient coin dyes. And what we have here is a criteria, 1 through 7, numbered down, and like present location and comment 7. That's pretty much what I want to deal with, because I think it's more interesting. Now I'm going to jump down here where it says figures, and we'll look at some of the dyes here in a little bit. Figure 8, reprinted from 1848, shows sketches, all of these are hand sketches, of a pair of dyes from the Algiers find of 6 dyes in 1799. Algiers is probably what, it's between modern-day Lyons and Paris, probably 100 miles or so southeast of Paris. Now, the very first ancient coin dyes that were ever found were found in Autun, France in 1704. Now, Autun, France is between Algiers and Lyons. Now, Lyons is important because of what they found there, and we're going to go into that a little bit later. The location of this pair is not known today. Right here, the 5 dyes shown in the hand sketches in 1903, the Perle Monial find of 7 dyes of 1863. Okay, and so we're going to go back up here and just show this. Come down here. Here's talking again about the 6 Tiberius dyes from Algiers. Anybody that wants to can stop and read this. I'm not going to go there right now. Next page. Now you'll see here how this dye, this is an ancient dye, and it talks about yellow, bronze, obverse and reverse dyes of Honorius Denarius of Tiberius from the Azure Find, 1799. And you'll notice that, start to notice that these dyes all have different ways of seating down into the holder or the cups that are supposed to hold these in place. Moving on down a little bit here. It is noted that coins of the same type were found with the azure dyes, as well as coins of several later rulers. So they found actual coins with the dyes, coins that were made from those dyes. I'm going to go up a little bit more, and you'll notice the absence of a lot of the criteria. Here we have drawings of the two dyes. Yep. And that's all we ever had was drawings of them. I'm going to scroll back up here, let you look at some of this. If you want to see it and read it, I'm just going to come here. Presumably found at Alger. It was destroyed in 1945. Depaillero states explicitly that the dye was destroyed in testing and refers to the book printed in 1970. It is hard to imagine why the complete destruction of the dye was required in order to test it. And here again, we see where these dyes themselves, even though they are made of iron, they sit down. They are seated down into another iron case. Iron dye case is referred to by Grant as having been found with the 6 azure dyes. No other reference to the azure find mentioned any such objects. Their existence must be considered speculative. Here, the special B-26 is mounted in an iron case, which Vermeule in 1954 suspects is of modern origin. So the case that this dye is seated in, this guy in Vermeule, Cornelius Vermeule, in 1954 suspected that it was of modern origin. Okay, next page. Here's another dye, and you'll see that with these dyes, well, it's obvious that none of the ones they know of or we see here, even though they're all hand sketches, crude at best, there is no common seat that these dyes, these casts, would have sit down in. They're all completely different. Okay, let's pick up right here. Moving on, 30B and H. 7 dyes of Tiberius Caligula from reputed 1704 Autun find. Now remember, that is the very first ancient coin dye find, 1704. A somewhat skeptical view of the existence of this find is expressed by Xavier Leroux in 1989, who notes that Lenormand, who relates details of this find from a now lost letter, was not a totally reliable source. So we're saying that a lost letter is not a reliable source. Okay. I can understand that. I'm with you. And we have the mint at Lugdunum. Lugdunum is modern-day Lyons. I'm going to pick up right here. Any two of the missions suggest that the dyes of any one emission were destroyed before another was prepared. And this in turn tends to throw some doubt on the original authenticity of the Paris Le Monial dyes, however skillfully they may have been made. Well, here they're basically throwing the azure finds and this find here. They're just throwing these finds underneath the bus. Here's another find, unprovenanced. I'm going to go back up here. Scroll down. I'm going to take it slow. So you can read all this if you want to, because I can't pull any punches. Can't pull any punches. Here's another die that you can see does not fit anybody else's machinery. We're going to start right here on die number V43. And I'm going to show you all these, not individually, but I'm going to show you the listing here after a while. This might be a significant factor in assessing authenticity. Okay. All right. Right here, this one here, in the comments, it does not appear to be the work of a counterfeiter. He expresses the opinion, this is on V44, expresses the opinion that these two dies are not the work of a counterfeiter. So, what is our score now? Let's see, they've thrown the 7 under the bus, they've thrown the other system under the bus, so now we're at like 3 supposed real dies and about 20 that are not. Well, let's look at some more. Let's look at some more. Die number V47. Nero, forger's mold. Right when you thought it was going to get better. Forger's mold. Here another one. V49. Considered forger's die by pagan. Hadrian averse. Considered forger's die by pagan. And you may notice that I have moved into the 21st century. I no longer call Hadrian, I call him Hadrian, because modern ancient coin dealers on television are calling him Hadrian. So now I'm shifting everything over from Hadrian to Hadrian. Now I grew up with guys named Adrian, you know, but that's not all those years I mispronounced their name. They were Hadrians. So now we have Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall. Emperor Hadrian. And I want that to catch on. So you coin dealers out there that may be watching this, you better get with the program when it comes to Hadrian. Now, I'm telling you, you're going to be left in the dust. Okay, dies number V52 and V52. Faustina the Second. Original Roman die cast in iron and not a steel forgery of the 18th century. Oh, as believed by some, however, its authenticity has been challenged. Blanchett in 1912 also Tricu in 1962 concur, summarizes many negative opinions. Next page. There's another die, hand-drawn. This is a hand-drawn reprint from a book in 1903. And you can see again, it doesn't look like it's going to fit the same machinery, does it? We're going to pick up right here. It should be assumed that this die is in all probability a counterfeiter's device. It is compared with the Hadrianic forger's die now in St. Albans Museum. Boy, it's hard to say Hadrianic. Let's scroll on down here to die number V53. Two Maximinus dies at the Lycée de Paris are characterized as 19th century fabrications. It gets better here in a second, but not right here on V54, does it? Called a 19th century fabrication. 19th century fabrication. That's 1800s. Here's another one though. Raised no questions of authenticity. But it's a 19th, oh, that's on 54. That one, they're saying is for real. And it has a good script on it. Go back up to the top here. And as we'll say, die number 54B. Where's number 5? If it's got a question mark, it doesn't exist. Here's another one. The die doesn't exist. Here's another one. The die doesn't exist. Oh, but we have hand sketches of it from, what, the 1840s, early 1900s, but it doesn't exist. Nobody knows where it's at. And these are really obscure emperors. I mean, okay, Constantine I from the Sicilia Mint. Now, I've got one catalog, ladies and gentlemen, that's got hundreds and hundreds of ancient coins. And it's a funny thing. They know each and every mint that coin was stamped at. I guess it had a Denver written on it or something, or P, or for Philadelphia, S for San Francisco. Yeah, they just happen to know every mint that the coins came from. But here, concerning number 57A, and this is a good, broad angle of all the other books that I had, believed by Pagan to be authentic, unlike the other three he discusses. So one of them was real, and three of them were not. That's what, 75% fake. Excuse me. Imitation. They're imitations. I'm not using the F word. I'm going to stay away from the F word. I slipped up there, didn't I? Here's another one, V58. Questioned by Vermeule in 1854, considered a probable forgery by Hill. So now we got two experts that consider it a forgery. And here's a dandy. And we're going to see more about it in a little bit here. Found at Trier, Germany, July the 1st, 1963. 1963. In dredging between second and third pier of Roman Bridge across the Moselle. Trier, Germany. All right, and they found over 1,000 coins here. Found over 1,000 coins with this. Next, going to learn more about, there's another die that is completely different than anything else we've seen. I'm trying to find some modern machinery to stamp these things out in. Let's scroll up a little bit. I'm going to learn a little bit more about Trier. Over 1,000 coins, mostly 4th century, have been found near the bridge. A broken iron mold similar to V47 from Arlon also was found. Here's another one. It was found in 1838, but it's missing. It apparently destroyed with the library in 1870. Nichols reported that these dies, they had apparently deteriorated further from rusting. Well, it stayed in the ground for what, 2,000 years, and it didn't rust, but you bring it out and, hey, put a little water on it, and it rusts for some reason? Come on, come on. Okay, the Valentinian's residence and main mint at Trier. Just going to scroll down here, show you some more. Next. Here's showing some more of the dies, and this is like a section in the middle between the two I'm going to show you, or go into more depth, and it's like a center section of the dies. Even though we are referring to some of the early dies, I'm not showing any of those hand drawings. You get the idea. I don't have them. I don't have them to show you, but I can assure you that they are very similar to it. Here, provenance uncertain for number 67. Here's talking about the Stephen coins and the legend. They had thousands and thousands of Stephen pennies, 1141 to 1142, which is really much later. That's during Crusader time, and I'm not going there. I'm talking more ancient. To me, ancient means 2,000 years old, plus or minus 150, 200 years or so. Okay? Defends its authenticity. Andrew staunchly defends its authenticity. Andrew claims to have examined thousands of Stephen pennies without having seen one from this die. You got me. You got me. But like I say, that's 1100s. I don't care. Die had little, the same one I'm just reference. Die had little, if any, usage. Allen states bust is absolutely correct for class F1, but watch this. But legend, most unusual. Allen supposes die was official, but was discarded because of improper legend. And I am not going to go so far into all the ancient coins that have misspelled words on them, that are for sale for hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. Misspelled words. The king's name misspelled. I'm not going to go there. I think it's absolutely hilarious, but I'm not going to go there. Formerly in the collection of Talbot, ready, location unknown in 1939. Well, what happened to these dies? What happened to these dies? This comes out of the next Sand Journal. I'm going to show you. Cream of the crop. Journal of the Society for Ancient Numismatics, June 1992. And this is a real good article here on the hoards, and they just find it a little peculiar that a lot of this stuff is in hoards. Okay. I'm just going to scroll down here. I'm going to point out that I'm just going to pull some stuff from 2 coin dies of Augustus. We're going to be looking at Belial of Tarsus and the Wolf. Agenda 2, Vermeule's Catalog of Ancient Coin Dies, Part 4, by William Malkmus. These are the granddaddies. These are the granddaddies of ancient coin dies. You're going to know everything. Not going to be any secrets from you. And I'm certainly not going to sugarcoat anything. Alright, here we go. 2 coin dies of Augustus by Bystra Bushkva. Going to scroll down here. You can pause this if you want to read it. Bystra. Got a great article here. And I'm going to pick up right here. Coin dies rank among the most interesting monetary artifacts. Their rarity is explained by their function. Oh, interesting. And from this point, by the strict desires of official authority regarding their preservation. Or lack of preservation. But remember, we've got a whole underground operating of forgers. So evidently, they had more concern over destroying the ancient dies than going after the ancient forgers. I'm just saying, it is well known that with the aim of preventing attempts at fraud, the dies were destroyed subsequent to wearing out. This is why only some 20-odd dies have reached the present day. Preventing attempts at fraud. But you could just set up the forger mint underground. They could just set up a mint anywhere, unless it was in a residential area. You couldn't have a mint in a residential area. The dies were destroyed subsequent to wearing out. This is why only some 20-odd dies have reached the present day. A figure scarcely reminiscent of the intensive production of 10,000 ancient coins with which each is now associated. So what are we saying there? We're saying that each die made 10,000 coins. Made 10,000 coins. 10,000. Scroll back up here. That's a cool name. Next, I'm going to actually show you those Augustus dies. And here we have actual pictures. I present. Yeah, photo by Rosa. These are not hand drawn. These are actual photos. First ones. And I believe they're the only ones. So you can see that. Okay, I'm just going to move through this book here. I thought this was interesting. Book reviews. This is on page 66. And I'm going to scroll down to the sentence I want to show. I want to highlight here. And this is just to give some credence. Except for Gaul, the variety of coins listed is extensive. Some 500 mints are represented, ranging all the way from Spain on the west to the Aegean Islands on the east and the Crimea on the north. 500 legitimate mints, some 500 that are listed here. And there's more than that. And we're not even counting the private mints, the forgers' mints, that the authorities were so concerned over the real mints and just let these forgers just pump stuff out like crazy, didn't they? Moving on, I'm just going to briefly show this article, Bale of Tarsus and the Wolf. And this is an article about about a group of small ancient Greek coins. They're small, they're tiny. We're going to look at them. I'm just going to scroll down here if anybody wants to stop that and look at it. Just taking a little diversion here. This has nothing to do with the dies. This has to do with the journal, Society of Ancient Numismatics, 1992. They published this article, and they have access to all the finest coins in the world. They do. Anyone would gladly loan them pictures or coins for analysis. No big deal. Now, when it comes to this, these are the coins that they prefer to show with this article. I'm just going to scroll slowly, let you get a look at them. These are all smaller Greek coins. I want you to look at the condition of them. This is 1992, and this is what they're writing about. This is what the article is about. I'm just going to slowly scroll so you get an idea of what these coins look like. And I'm going to pick up reading right here. On the obverse, Baal, seated on throne facing left, holds ear of corn. Well, now how did he get an ear of corn in 500 BC? Holds an ear of corn? Well, is it just me that finds question with that? How can the guy be holding an ear of corn in 500 BC? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But look at the condition of these coins. Alright, this is the last chapter on the ancient dies. So stay with me. We're going to wrap it up after this. Addendum to Vermeule's Catalog of Ancient Coin Dies, Part 4 by William Malkmus. This is 1992. Same publication. And we're going to scroll down. And we're going to start right here. As with coin hoards, the circumstances of a find may have significant bearing on the acceptance of the find as authentic. Additionally, as opposed to the coins, it is probable that no ancient dies were known until the 18th century, while Renaissance artists were falsifying ancient coins. Renaissance artists falsifying ancient coins? Using or ignoring the authentic items such as patterns. And we're going to look at Table 3 here in a moment. The dies found were overwhelmingly for silver and gold coinage. It's page 72. We're going to go back up to the top here. The first reported find of ancient coin dies was in 1704 at Autun, France, consisting of 7 dies of Tiberius and Caligula. This find is unfortunately known only in a reference to an unpublished letter from P. Ménétrier in 1705. So there's 7 coin dies found in 704 that are written about in an unpublished letter in 1705, and there's nothing that exists. Okay, here we go. Nothing is known of the fate of these 7 dies. Even the metal and the shapes of the dies are not known. some skepticism about the find has been expressed. Well, now I wonder why. I wonder why. In 1739, in the excavation of the Fountain of Diana at Nimes, 2 conical bronze dies of Augustus were found. With a well-established provenance, their age was firmly established, although the question of authenticity was left open. Was the first ancient coin die from which coins of unquestioned authenticity have been identified. The other die was injudiciously tested in a coining press shortly after its discovery and was broken. It didn't make it, did it? They tried to make a coin from that die and it busted on them. In 1768, the find consisted of 11 dies of Caligula and Claudius, the originals of which have even been lost. And I don't want to go into the bibliographies of these either, because they are just quite extensive, and they're all good sources. Here's next page. In the course of the 19th century, the 1800s, many more generally isolated finds were made, some now of suspect origin. About 50 dies made their appearance in the 19th century, are included in this catalog. Let's scroll on down. Next item, page, let's see, 77. We're going to scroll down. Going to just scroll down, take our time here. Of the 7 major hoards of 5 or more dies which have been described here, 5 of them were of 1st century Roman Empire dies. 2 of these hoards, Autun and Saverne, have vanished with scarcely a trace other than a record of the number of dies and the emperors represented. And they're not mentioned in the other one too. The question on austere. What appears most striking is the lack of standardization of the precise shapes of these dies. That's what I was talking about, is how with so many different dies do they make so many different iron cases? Does each mint have its own specific type of iron case? Is there one guy doing? No, I believe there are actually hundreds or maybe even thousands of these ancient artisans carving into solid forged iron. The dies have clearly been cast, but apparently each one was cast in an individual mold. So they're saying that these coiners, these mint makers, they made them completely different. I wonder what the problem was with that. Oh, okay. Well, we're finished with that die. Well, man, you know, if you'd made it like this, we could have put another die in there and used it. No. I want to make a whole new case for it, so it'll sit in it. These 2 dies have recently been characterized as questionable. The question of authenticity will be addressed. Dies considered most likely to be authentic will be presented. Next. This is a listing exactly as it says. This list consists of all the known dies coming from Europe ancient Roman dies up to the year 1992. Anyone can argue with this all you want, but here is the list out of the Society for Ancient Numismatics Journal. I'm just going to slowly scroll so you can see when they were found, where they were found. Next page. This is it. This is it. There are no others up to this time. There might be a whole bunch more now. I'm sure there are. I'm sure you can buy each one of these, probably by the box. I got to take my time and let you scroll down and see. Here's Trier, Germany. Trier, Germany from 1963. So anyone can look at this, and a lot of these are more recent. Here, 11th or 12th century. Yeah, you know, I don't consider that ancient, but some people do. Some people say ancient is 1,000 years. I do not. Okay, we got to scroll back up here. This is the last page of our mint. Table 4, listing coin die catalogs, entries. But we have here another die, and this is the coin that it makes, and it is completely different from the rest of them. And this is a bronze die, Now, bronze melts like around 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. It has some leeway there concerning the alloy and how much of a mixture it is, of what proportions. So the temperature, melting temperature, is quite ambiguous. But the melting temperature of gold is not. And one thing funny about gold is if you just get it like 2 or 3 degrees above its melting point, poof, it turns into vapor. So you really have to be careful when you're minting gold. You cannot get it too hot and it turns into vapor, and you just had enough gold to mint several coins, and all of a sudden, poof, it's gone. You're going to get fired. And here we have location uncertain, existence uncertain, believed lost or untraceable. Can you imagine the swear words coming out of an ancient mint, of guys getting burned, of getting hit in the eyes with hot metal? And how did they cool the coins? And how did they cool the dies? And it's obvious to me that there was an absolute underground, a mafia, an underground of ancient mints with thousands of employees, just as many as the if an ancient legitimate mint had 20 guys working at it, you probably had to have the same number, maybe a few less with a forger's mint. That concludes your lesson on ancient dies and ancient mints, and I'm attempting to put together a large picture that you can see. And like I say, this is not all the dies, but they're all similar, and I haven't left anything out. I've been as detailed as I think my viewer can stand. Now we're going to get into some more interesting things. I hope you enjoyed. If you stayed with me this long, the rest of it is downhill. Thank you for staying with me this long. This next chapter is titled Imitations, and I'm going to show you several pages out of a catalog concerning imitations. Let's jump in. Our first item in imitations comes from this catalog here, advertising a fall sale of 1991 auction bid. Now, we see here postal and phone bid auction 1991. And a lot of people might not understand, millennials won't understand that back then you only had post and telephone. You didn't have email, texting, and all that kind of stuff back in 1991. And you'll see right here, it says interesting forgeries and fantasies. 2 F words right there. 2 F words. Okay, we're going to look at some. We're going to read this first. Forgeries and fantasies. How they have put all of these items, with the exception of the one-sided electrotypes, have been engraved with an F. There's your F word. At 6 o'clock in the reverse field, so they will not be sold as genuine in the future. And I'm going to slowly scroll down here to show you just how they're described and give you some idea of the emperors that were and kings that were imitated. They were imitated. Now here's a Philip II of Macedon facing left. Well, there's others facing right. Well, he had a bad eye. He got wounded in the eye. So which eye was it, left or right? Some people say left, some people say right. But I want to point out this right here, struck in 24 karat gold, and the die too good to be convincing. So that's how they knew it was an imitation. An imitation. I'm trying my best not to use the F-bomb. Now, right here, another one, struck in 24 karat gold. And ladies and gentlemen, you and me, you'd be surprised how many of them are struck in 24 karat gold. And I'm just going to give you guys some pointers. If you are a modern day counterfeiter and you are watching this video, please use a little more wisdom than to strike your coins in pure 24 karat gold. All right, that's all I'm saying. I'm just giving you a little bit of advice. Just giving you some advice. Electrotypes. You can look up electrotypes on the internet and find out how those are made. And now we're going to look at some of those coins. Here's a slew of them here. Now you can match up the numbers if you want to with the coin going back and forth should you wish to do that, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm just going to show it to you and show it that, hey, some of them look pretty good, don't they? They look a little worn. Next, we're showing more of the emperors that were imitated. They were imitated. Here's Hadrian right here. Hadrian. Here's a Pertinax right here. 336 is a Pertinax. Nero. Oh my goodness. Here's a Galba. There's a Vespasian. And if you see them here, well, could there be others? Faustina Senior. Let's look at next. I'm going to show you these coins so you can get a good look at them. And you can match them up with the numbers if you wish to. And there you have a slew of ancient coins. There's Pertinax. We're going to be talking about him later. Imitations. Now you've seen how imitations are presented. Our next chapter is titled Evolution of a Hat. Years ago, Paul noticed, these hats, They don't exist as far as I know. I can't see. I've been to Italy. He'd been to Italy and he'd never seen these hats before. And what we later learned is the hat, which is called the radiant, it only exists on ancient coins. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. And now we're going to examine the phases of the hat and go back as far as we can concerning the hat, the first coin that had the hat, and we're going to go all the way forward to the latest form of the hat. This is the last chapter of part 1. Enjoy. First chapter concerning evolution of a hat comes from February of 2008. And we're going to look at these hats, we're going to look at this guy, and we're going to try to discern and realize how a hat can evolve. There's the front of the catalog, and I'm not messing with page numbers because page numbers don't matter in a lot of these. It's entry. They don't have pages, they just go by the coin. So here we have entry 435, and that's Ptolemy III Ergates, 246 to 222 BC. He's in the radiate diademed bust of Ptolemy III. Extremely fine condition. 18,000 euros. This book is printed in is published with euros in mind. Now we want to look at the weight here. 27.78 grams. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a big chunk of coin. That's almost the size and weight of a Canadian maple leaf. And there you have this radiant hat. And I'm going to point out that these spikes do not appear to come straight up as you would suppose in a crown. They look to me like they are bent over, covering the upper occipital to the rear here, down to the medulla, and they appear to be bent over the head, somewhat, I would say, like in a mohawk style. These radiant hats were, as far as I can tell, a mohawk style. This one, at 27.78 grams, in this extremely fine condition, 18,000 euros. Now let's look at our next exhibit. Comes from the A&A Sentinel sale. I had to put their name in there to get August 14, 1991. I don't think anybody else in the world's got this catalog but me, and I don't mind saying A&A. I'm just pointing out what they published. This is from 1991. It's going back. Remember, Hubbard is always working backwards. So we went from 2009 back to 1991. And we're going to read it here. Ptolemy, 246 to 221. A little bit different in the years. Who cares? But this is 27.89 grams. And back then, $10,000 to $12,000. This is dollars here. And the divine attributes of Ptolemy III, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it is a gold coin. And I'm going to show it to you right down here. There he is. And that's a heavy coin. It's a heavy coin. There you see him. Very good condition. Let's look at our next item. Comes from public auction, September of 2008. We're going to look at entry number 47. 47. Ptolemy IV Philopator. This is after Ptolemy III, 222 to 205 BC. Look at his weight, 27.82 grams. Well, sure does look a lot like the other guy. How can you tell? How can you tell? Okay. Very rare, extremely fine. 18,000 euros. That's a chunk of change there, ladies and gentlemen. That is a chunk of change. And we're going to follow this evolution of this hat through. We're going to follow it through. I know that there are certain people who want to see this. So I'm going to be spending some time on the hat. This is a sequel to Pass the Hat. Presentation I did in 1997. Next item comes from May of '09. We're going to look here. Here's Ptolemy the Fourth, 221 to 204. Boom. $20,000. Excuse me, 20,000 euros. 54, 55. 20,000 euros. 27.79 grams. Now this is the fourth. This is not the third. This is the fourth. But I'm showing the evolution of the hat. This one here and this one. FDC. FDC. Rare. 30,000 euros. FDC, it means fluid de coin. Fluid de coin. That means mint state. Perfect condition. Straight out of the die. This means that there are no flaws, there are nothing. But you can see here that this head is a little bit fatter here than this guy. This guy's got a little bit of a thin head. So they call it the small head. This is the small head variant. Well, I wonder how Ptolemy the fourth Philopator would have known. Hey, well, me, I want my head big, or I want my head small. Okay. 2 gold coins showing completely different heads. Well, smaller. Looks like the same guy, but this is much smaller build here. 20,000 euros, 30,000 euros in mint condition, fluid de coin. And now we can see. So I'm going to say that the oldest hat, radiant hat that we have is Ptolemy the Third, and I'm going to say that it is the 246 BC. This guy. 246 BC. Now I'm going to challenge any ancient coin dealer the world over, any ancient coin collector the world over, to show me a hat, the Radiant, that predates 246 BC. I want to see it. If you got one, I want to see it. There he is. Moving on, we're going to look at this auction catalog from August of 1991. And we've looked at the Ptolemy hat from the 3rd century BC. And now we're going to look at some things from the 2nd century and the 1st century BC. And didn't count them, but on the other Ptolemy hat, you had like 14 of these spikes. Here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in a lot of, this is from 130 BC, Caria. And a lot of these catalogs, you'll notice that I've scribbled in the actual money that was rendered, because I kept up with these auctions. When the flyers came through of what certain coins sold for, I would write them down in the book, which I've got so many of the books that are heavily annotated with the rendering prices. We're going to look at another one here. This is 43 BC to 96 AD. This had a long time. Notice the cut here and the cut there. Here's your Radiant hat with 6. The numbers are falling off here. This is 6 here. This is 167 to 88 BC, so that's 1st and 2nd century before Christ. So let's look at that. We're just showing the evolution of the hat. And here's another one from the same catalog. You'll see here, August 16, 1991. Now these come from the late 3rd century AD. And you'll see that the hat, these spikes here are much wider. This one shows what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 5 spike. That's a 5 spike. And these are all from the late 200 ADs, which is the heyday of the hat. The heyday of the hat is like 240 to 310 AD or so. Moving on. Here's another catalog from spring of 1992. And I'm going to show you several of these spiked hats, the radiants. This is the morphology. This is a 6, 5, 5, 6. And you're going to notice the condition of these coins, I hope. And all of these on this spread page here, I'm just showing you one page. I could show you dozens and dozens and dozens of pages that have dozens of these hats on them, okay? But we're not going to go there. I'm just going to scroll down here and let you look. All of these come from 260 to 280 AD. Here's a couple here. Obverse, reverse. Here's another one. Here's one here. Here looks like he's got one spike. I don't know what else it would be coming out of the top of his head there. Several more in here. This is the evolution of the hat. And here it hugs the cap of the head, hugs it real tight. Showing the evolution of a hat. Moving on, my next exhibit comes from May of 1991. Here's another auction catalog. We're going to notice the condition of these coins. Boy, they look pretty rough, don't they? Looking pretty rough. But we'll see the evolution of the hat here. Some of them sit farther back on the head. You got 5 spikers, 4 spikers, 6 spikers. Just going to scroll down, let you check out the condition of these coins. And this is just a page at random out of this book that had a lot on it, and I just figured, well, I'm going to show. And I'm not going to go into who they are, what magic Roman emperors they were, etc., etc. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, we have online today, and also in coins, far, far more ancient Roman emperors than I can show you in the books. Far more. Some of these people, they on the coins, you look them up, they only exist online. They do not exist in any of my classical history books at all, or in any of my encyclopedia sets from the 1800s. They just kind of made their way to the pop culture. Just look at the condition here. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why we have so many more Roman emperors today than we ever had in Roman times. That's just beyond me. I'm just pointing it out. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Moving on, from May 17, 2010, another public auction. Oh, now we come into some more. Now, all of those that I showed you before, you can throw them out the window. Now we've got them here. This is Hieronymus Etruscus, which he's one that exists online. He's not in any of my history books or encyclopedia sets. But here we see him, don't we? And with a gold coin. That proves that he existed. But now we're going to notice mint state, FDC, 500 euros. 500 euros. Mint condition. Mint condition. Here's another one here. mint state, fleur de coin. That's French for just perfect. Fleur de coin. Here's another Hieronymus Etruscus. They're just pulled out from the mid, 3rd century A.D. And here for instance, here we have these two here. 250, Hieronymus Etruscus, 251, 251. And we want to look at these two guys. Do they even look like the same character? Do they even look like, they don't even look like brothers. Let's go up to the top again here. And you can see these two guys here. They don't even look like the same guy. Look completely different. But they are the same guy. Minted in the same place, the same year, same legend. Now, to me, this looks like the same guy here, but Hostilian is supposed to be his father, Hieronymus' father, Hostilian here, and he's another. Some of these coins are just so obscure. Now, here's Trebonius, and all mint state gold coin, 150 bucks. Only weighs 3.39 grams. This one here is extremely fine. Mint state. Evolution of a hat. Moving on. This is from October of 1994. Out of Switzerland. And we're going to check out coin feature number 1208. Alright. Busto adulto con corona radiato. Okay, that means with the radiate crown, which actually we're going to look at here in a second. 3,500. I believe this is going to be Swiss marks. 1648. 1648. And here he is. Now this actually looks like it goes around the head. It doesn't just look like it's plastered straight over it, because I can see the tip of a point back here and here. And it's a 5-pointer. With an ornament at the front there. And this is from 1648. And this is, I suppose, the latest, the most recent radiant hat that I can find on coins. Now, if there's a coin dealer or coin collector out there that can find something and show it beyond the middle of the 1600s, I'd like to see it. But I'm calling this the youngest or the most recent radiant. I wish somebody could prove me wrong. Find one. Now, I'm not talking about just a year or two. I want to see one jump like 5-6 years before you get into my court. And, a year or two is not going to do it. There's just too much ambiguous. Okay, so anyway, we're going to look at him. And that concludes the evolution of a hat. Oh, wait a minute. There's one last thing I want to show you about the radiant hat. There's one other thing I want to show you. Now, you remember at the beginning of this, I showed you the table of contents where we had this story here. Barbarous radiates from the Sand Journal, 1991. Barbarous radiates and other imitations. I see I've kind of put the F word over that, of Roman coins. They said, now we're really going to start blowing up the F-bombs here. Let's start right here. In writings on ancient Roman coins, one occasionally encounters a reference to barbarous radiates, or barbarous F-words, F-bombs. During the 19th and 20th centuries, a great number of hoards of such coins were found, mainly in Britain, France, and Belgium. What exactly were these coins? By whom and why were they minted? Are they merely ancient forgeries? It has been established that official Roman coins were counterfeited or F-bombed from the time of Augustus, and barbarous F-bombs, significant numbers appeared whenever the supplies of authentic issues were scarce. Whew. Watch out, here come the F-bombs now. Okay, we're going to scroll down. Let you see this. This comes from page 50 of that journal. I'm going to pick up right here. But evidence from the various hordes of radiant F-bombs supports the view that most were struck earlier, in approximately the same time frame as the original Roman coins they imitate. However, some large hordes of the smallest pieces have proved to be of, let's go back up to the top here, later manufacture. Later manufacture, there we go. Generally, the better the imitation, the earlier it should be placed in relationship to the genuine. Oh, of course. Of course, that makes sense to me, doesn't it? As the later imitations, which became reduced in size, suffered in design as they were copied, not from official coins, but from the earlier F-bombs. The earlier barbarous imitations, F-words, were most likely struck at outlying unofficial mints. Oh, here we go. It was the forgers that had they were hiding their mints outlying unofficial mints. We have how do you advertise that? Who is your business? If you're running an unofficial mint, do you sell your coins to someone who walks up? How do you get your coins into circulation? And then naturally my question is, how do you carry them? How do you carry your ancient coins? Do you carry them in a bag? Do you carry them in a bowl? Do you carry them in and how are you going to dodge all of the thieves and the bandits? How are you going to do that? So you're going to have an unofficial mint making forged coins or unofficial coins, and somebody's got to get them into circulation. Maybe that's how they paid for the firewood, to keep the temperatures high enough so that they could make the coins out. They bought wood. That's what they did. They paid people to go out and cut trees down to bring them in. We're going to pick up right here. Just as Alexander's coinage had widely been F-worded for some 600 years earlier, almost all barbarous radiates were struck rather than cast. I'm not going to go there, but it's not it's not strange to me that we see the word cast in here. Yeah, there's cast. Now I showed you one that had the big chips on it, and if you see a coin that's got a big, like a wedge in the side of it or so, that is a cast coin. Some are obviously the work of competent chelators or minters with some knowledge of Latin, but others create a strange and unexplained phenomena by having rather well executed orthodox royal portraits, sketch this now, and reverse figures with hopelessly blundered legends or no legend at all. Oh. Apparently, many of the chelators, the guys who cut the dies, were not literate in Latin, and thus were careless in copying the inscriptions of the Roman originals. So the guy is a talented artisan. He can carve a small picture in solid cold iron. He can sit there and chip it out and polish it out and put a man's head down in iron. And he does this all day, every day, or all night, every night, and he doesn't know how to spell words in Latin. These guys didn't know Latin. Do you want a guy spelling your coins out who is not literate in Latin and careless? Next page. A large number of barbarous radiates were minted in imitation of the coinage of the emperors Tetricus first, second, Claudius the second. All these really obscure guys. The majority of hoards of barbarous radiates uncovered range in date from around 270 AD to as late as 500 AD. Okay, but I showed you one up to the 1600s, didn't I? Going to move down here a little bit. With few exceptions, until 20th century scholars realized that the study of barbarous F-words or radiates could often assist in dating hoards and artifacts. They were usually thrown aside as useless by excavators. They were thrown aside as useless by excavators. Well, I wonder why. I wonder why. You may think maybe that the excavators knew something about the F-bombs that we didn't. Don't mess with excavators. You go messing with an excavator, he's going to show you a trick or two. Moving on. Going to pick up right here. Many studies of the various periods of production of ancient counterfeit or F-bombs, do you see here? Roman coins have been made and published in the last 40 years. Let's look at it again. Many studies of the various periods of production of ancient counterfeit or imitation Roman coins have been made and published in the last 40 years. These F-bombs have brought a realization that these ancient imitations play an important role in the history of the coinage of Rome and have greatly raised their intrinsic value to both the student and the serious collector of Roman coins. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we're going to make an F-bomb coin, and we're going to charge you $18,000 for it, $30,000, $20,000, €100,000, and you're going to like it. You're going to like paying for it because it brings a realization here of an important role in the history of the coinage of Rome. Has greatly raised their intrinsic value. I would say it has shot the intrinsic value through the roof. And that is only in the last 40 years. And this is published, this is printed in 1991. Sand Journal, page 51. And there you have it. There you have it. Now you know everything there is to know about the F word and the F-bombs. I'm going to go back one page here, and we're going to go up to the top here. Now, this is the Society for Ancient Numismatics. The journal. And they picture 3 radiant coins up here. Now, I want you to look at the condition of these coins. I want you to look at the condition. Look at the spikes on that, these long feather-like spikes. It is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spiker. 5 spiker there. And they're real sharp. They're like cat's claws coming up there. Now, this journal has access to all ancient coins throughout Europe, United States. Look at what they print here for an example. Coin C is of unknown provenance and is an imitation of an Antoninus Tetricus, the first or second. Oh, well, how can you tell? It is an imitation. It is an F-bomb. This concludes part 1. Hope you enjoyed Evolution of a Hat. Part 2 will begin with Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and then I'm going to move into another Roman emperor named Pertinax, and then we're going to look at some Brutus coins, you know, et tu Brute, and the final portion is going to be sealed with a kiss. And what kind of kiss? And then there will be a special surprise at the very end. So please do check out part 2. If you enjoyed this, you will certainly enjoy part 2. Thank you.